Hello, you wonderful humans. Thank you for being here. It's Wednesday. It's 7 o'clock or a few minutes afterwards. That means it's time for a Wednesday weekly workshop with yours truly. I'm Drew Detzner. I'm the owner and one of the clinicians here at 3D Wellness, where we help people improve their health safely and naturally using whole food supplements, food strategies, and breath work. Every Wednesday at 7 o'clock, we go live on here because we would like to share everything we know with the entire world. I have more than 16 years of clinical experience helping people overcome health challenges, so I got all sorts of ideas. What we do is we have the people on YouTube, the people on Instagram, chat in your questions. I have my incomparable associate, the better half of my professional life. I don't know how else to put it. Two boots, Lori LeClaire.
I showed up today. Here I am.
She's here. She's with us. I wouldn't be the same without her. So start chatting in those questions. What we're going to do is what we do every week. We answer the questions that you chat in, whether it's on YouTube or Instagram. If you don't want to chat in those questions, give us a call. We'll answer the phone. We'll take your question. We'll get your questions answered. We want you to know everything that we know. Now, while we wait for those questions to roll in, I'd like to go over what we've seen in clinic this week, and I have a very important supplement that I want to talk about. Let's jump into this week. This week in clinic, a number of our clients came in dealing with the wildfire smoke. A lot of people who are living closer to Lake Michigan were getting hit with it harder than people who are further away, but just the same. A lot of people were dealing with all sorts of respiratory issues and allergy-type symptoms because of that wildfire smoke. We've got a really good program that I put together to help people overcome that. People were getting relief in as little as 2 days from that wildfire smoke. So if you're having airway trouble, please let us know. We are here to help that. Liver detox. And this one was a big deal. When our liver goes to clean something up, there's phase 1, and then there's phase 2 of how it cleans that stuff up. And then there's what we lovingly refer to as phase 3, which is when we actually send the waste into the bowel to make sure it exits the body. And this client's liver was really tired, was needing a lot of nourishment. When we improved phase 1 and phase 2, it became very clear to us that phase 3 was not going to go well because it hadn't been engaged properly in a long time. So we had to do some tummy nourishment to make sure that we could do liver detox. So if you've ever tried a detox program or a cleanse program and it didn't go really well, often one organ is doing more work than the next organ down the chain or down the line of detox can keep up with. So we got to make sure from start to finish that the body is ready to do some kind of cleaning process or some kind of detox. When we did that with this client, instant relief. We're talking 12 hours and they were feeling better. Sleep support. A lot of my clients who are on CPAP machines are sick of it. They don't feel better using CPAP machines. I know a lot of people do feel better using CPAP, so I'm not ripping on CPAPs. These clients that I'm talking about, there are 3 of them this week. They want to be done with their CPAP machines, so we were talking about alternatives to retrain their body how to use airways when they're sleeping and different things they can do physically to make sure that their airways are responding ideally to this new work output that's expected of them. Our airways are really complex, and there's quite a bit of different nutrients required by the body to operate those airways optimally. Well, we know how to do that. And then old versus new infections. I said this to a client, and they looked at me kind of befuddled. An old infection? How could I have an old infection? There are different types of infections, viral, bacterial, fungal, parasitic, that may go dormant, that may be in the background, and they don't make enough noise for the immune system to really go after them to try to attack them. And when that happens, they can stay in our body for years and years and years. One of the most common examples of that is if a person gets mononucleosis, They're very likely to be dealing with Epstein-Barr virus for a long time after that. And viruses don't necessarily like to be the star of the show. They will gladly hang out in the background and build up their numbers and get stronger and stronger without ever drawing too much attention to themselves. Because too much attention means the immune system would kick in and start to attack them. So, sometimes clients come in, we start to support their immune system, and old infections get released, or the immune system says, hey, this freeloader's been hanging out in here for a while, it's time I gave him the boot. And that's a totally separate issue from if you pick up some new bacteria or some new virus, etc. Because you went to a party or you touched the doorknob that was filthy or whatever thing was the source of it. That was just some of what we worked on this week. Pretty interesting week.
Drew, for the old and new infection topic, can that kind of tick bite be an old versus new?
Yeah.
Like, can it, whatever, if you got bit by a tick years ago and it didn't bother you at that time, can it surface up?
Yeah, very good question. So Lyme disease is one of the things that ticks can give us, and Lyme disease is notorious for going dormant for years even. Mm-hmm. And then a certain type of stress or a certain amount of stress comes in, and the Lyme disease basically goes like, hey, the body's very distracted with all this stress. Here's my chance to pounce and get a better foothold around here.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because since we don't have any other questions coming in right now, I could maybe start with that. Mary was in earlier and had a question she wanted to present tonight but couldn't watch us live.
Oh, cool.
Kind of if someone is bit by a tick, what kind of natural remedies do you suggest to negate the itching, or if there's a rash or whatever, just to be ahead of it?
Sure. I'm going to do my PSA for all the doctors out there who are working with people dealing with this issue. It's Lyme disease. It is not Lyme's disease. Lyme does not own the disease. Mm-hmm. It's not multiple Lymes, and it is spelled with a Y, not an I, because it's not a citrus fruit. One of my pet peeves. Oh, yeah, my neighbor has Lyme's disease. I'm like, oh, yeah, are they turning green and kind of sweet and sour? Is that what's happening?
You're so sassy.
I am very sassy. When we talk about this, because when I was 25, I got Lyme disease, and it rocked my world. It almost put me in a wheelchair. My joints got so bad. So I get to be a little bit sassy about Lyme disease. That's
all right,
as far as I'm concerned. Mm-hmm. Anyways. Ticks are one of the creatures in the animal kingdom that can transmit Lyme disease. They're not the only one. We know that cat scratches can do that. We also know that mosquitoes have the potential to carry Lyme disease. So when I hear people say, I don't live in an area with ticks, I don't have Lyme disease, I say, oh ho ho, ha ha ha, that's not how that works. There's other animals that can transmit Lyme disease. Now the itch that we may get from a tick bite, so if the bite leads to itching, that means there is immune activity taking place. The itch that you're feeling is that things are moving around and actually taking action and affecting tissues in that area. And you start to notice the itch because you feel white blood cells flooding the area. You feel your circulatory system responding to all that. Your immune system is engaging in that area. So if you end up getting bit and you feel itching afterwards, your immune system is engaged, it's going to be important to make sure that we are supporting the immune system in its actions. In terms of stopping the itch acutely, you can use anti-itch products if you would like to, like if it's really unbearable. I don't love those products, but I really don't want you to scratch at the bite because I don't want you to make a lousy situation worse by tearing the skin or irritating the skin and giving whatever is trying to get a foothold in you an easier chance to get a foothold inside of you. Lyme disease, it's typically bacterial in nature. However, it does hold the door open for other infections. What does that mean? The immune system gets distracted by what causes Lyme disease in such a way that other types of infections like viruses, fungus, and parasites have an easier time slipping in under the radar because the body is distracted by what's going on with this bacteria. So when we're going to nourish a person who has just had a tick bite, we are going to use products that are not just antibacterial support, but that are comprehensive immune support. So I like to see people take the one, the only Spanish black radish. If you know, you know. We want to take some Immuplex. These two are the foundation of making sure your immune system is getting nutrients that it needs for its most fundamental tasks. If we don't put in the basics first, the rest of the fancy stuff that we can do isn't going to work as well. And right now, a lot of you are flashing back to your third grade basketball coach, or your fifth grade baseball coach, or some coach who's like, fundamentals, we got to do fundamentals. And they were totally right, okay? They could be lecturing about tick bites right now. They would be totally right. Spanish black radish and Immuplex, these are the basics. We got to make sure that we have those grooved in before we get fancy. Then, from the Cellcore line of supplements, the IS products, and there are 4 of them. IS stands for immune system, stands for immune support. Okay? There are 4 different ones because they're all designed to handle the variations of what causes Lyme disease. Now, here at 3D Wellness, what we're going to do is muscle test and see which of those products, one of them, 2 of them, maybe all 4 of them, is needed by the body at any given time to make sure that we are treating each individual as an individual. I have had clients come in and they have all the symptoms of one type of Lyme-related problem, and they test for a product that doesn't correlate with their symptoms, and they still get better. I trust the muscle testing to tell us what that individual needs. I want to hear the symptoms. I want the client to feel heard. And then I still want to do what the body is asking for, because that is what is most likely to be successful. And I'm going to start a person with these. So I think when Mary was in, she went home with one of these.
She did.
And the person she was bringing it home to is already on both of these. So I was like, all right, cool. So when somebody is dealing with a tick bite, a mosquito bite, a cat scratch, and they're concerned that something might be going on related to Lyme disease, especially if where they got bit or scratched is itching, I'm going to be looking at things that help us fight bacteria and the other types of immune challenges that this bacteria holds the door open for. We're going to help fight that with Spanish black radish, Immuplex, and some Cellcore products. There's some options. I want to hone in on which one the individual needs.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
There are symptoms that will come along if Lyme disease actually gets a chance to rear its ugly head. And that list of symptoms is a very long, diverse list. So I'm not going to go through each one of those things because that would be like a 4-hour lecture. Mm-hmm. So we're not going to do that right now. It would be a pretty good series to do, though. Maybe I'll do that in the future.
There you go.
All right. Any questions rolling in?
No.
I get to jump straight to story time then?
Sure, lay it on us.
Ready to go to story time.
All right.
That is good gin. All right.
That's a story.
That is tall tale. The year was 1946. No, sorry, I'm not going to do that the whole time. That would be super obnoxious. I was prospecting for gold in them hills over there.
Hank, settle down.
Yeah, I'm trying. I really want to do that the whole time, but I'm not going to do that. Standard Process in 1946 released a product that is called AC carbamide. And I know everybody watching this right now is saying like, duh, Drew, AC carbamide. I totally know everything there is to know about it, but there's more that you should know. Oh, and the phone's ringing. We might have a live question on the air.
I'll get it.
I'm going to keep going with story time for now, though. So, AC carbamide gets released, but it wasn't originally called AC carbamide. When it was first released, AC carbamide was just called carbamide. And the reason for that is Dr. Royal Lee, who started the Standard Process Supplement Company in 1929. Keep in mind, Dr. Royal Lee, over 100 patents, U.S. Army veteran, graduate of Marquette Dental School, owner of the first Saab dealership in the United States of America, and responsible for a large number of the different pieces of equipment that your dentist uses inside of their office to this day, even though we're 96 years removed from when he was doing that work. Pretty great guy. What he knew is that carbamide was largely responsible for balancing fluid levels inside of the body. So I want to explain this to you a little bit. Inside of our body, we are filled with cells, and animal cells are circular in nature, and they have little pumps in them that are dictated by sodium and potassium that controls what goes in and out of our cells. So, quick side note, when I hear people say, I don't eat a lot of sodium, it's not good for me, I always like to check that real quick and say, you realize all of the 40 trillion plus cells in your body require sodium to make sure things go in and out correctly. So restricting your sodium is not necessarily a good idea. Let's look at your sodium sources and make sure it's a good quality sodium, because every cell in your body has these pumps that control the in and out. What Dr. Lee knew about carbamide was it supported the action of these sodium-potassium pumps to allow fluid to go in and out of the body. So H2O, in and out. When he released this product, the government got upset with him and said, how dare you? You are taking advantage of innocent people. Carbamide has no action to it whatsoever. It is an inert substance. It doesn't do anything. You're selling people false hope. Dr. Lee said, no, carbamide influences sodium-potassium pumps. It helps govern fluid in and out of the cells. So people who have water retention, whether it's in their abdomen or maybe it's in their ankles, this is helping these people's bodies actually function better, put the water where it's supposed to go, and get right down to work. They said, nope, your product is inert. We have decided it. It is true. And he presented the science behind it, and they said, nope, carbamide is a filler. It doesn't do anything. Take that product off the market, or you're in big trouble, mister. That's going to be a pattern that's going to come up in Dr. Lee's life later on. The government really went after him, really didn't like a lot of what he had to say, even though what he said has stood the test of time and of science to prove that it was, in fact, really good things that Dr. Lee was doing. So the government said was, stop making this carbamide product. You cannot make that. You are selling a product that is all filler, no killer. So Dr. Lee looked up the laws around percentages inside of supplements. And what he found was 95% of a supplement can legally, are there two L's in legally? Thank you. Can legally be inert. That makes me feel great. 95% of a product can be filler. And then 5% has to be active. Which brings us to the name change around carbamide by standard process. The reason nowadays it is called AC carbamide is because Dr. Lee developed a whole food blend of vitamins A and C containing foods and filled up carbamide, about 5% of it, with those ingredients. And the other 95% is all carbamide. So basically what Dr. Lee did was he beat them at their own game. He said, you want a product that can legally be 95% quote-unquote filler? I'll make this product 95% carbamide, which I know helps that fluid balance. And the other 5%, I'll put vitamin A and C in there because I know that's going to help kidneys and bladder deal with that fluid moving around. When we draw it out of the ankles for removal, we're going to use the kidney and bladder. When we take it off the abdomen, we're going to use kidney and bladder. So I'm just going to throw in some ingredients that support the functioning of the kidneys and the bladder. So when you look at the ingredient list on AC carbamide, you're like, oh, there's a carbamide in there, and vitamin A, and vitamin C. And the only reason the A and the C are in there is so that they can legally sell it. But the true action of this product is in the carbamide because carbamide is not inert. It helps this fluid balance. What do we use it for clinically? Edema, which is water retention on the ankles. Now, I'm not diagnosing anybody with edema because I'm not a medical doctor, but they come to me with that diagnosis. And often people are on water pills. A lot of people, when they take diuretic pills, water pills, they get side effects from it, they get symptoms from it, and they want to do something different. And AC carbamide is a product I've used with a number of people to safely help their body balance fluid levels. Their ankles shrink, their abdomen comes down. A lot of people end up losing weight on it without getting dehydrated, which is a potential side effect of a lot of different diuretics that are available on the market, both prescription and over-the-counter, including some supplements. There you go. That's AC carbamide. That's your standard process history lesson for the day. Oh, beat them at their own game. That was kind of his thing. If something didn't go right, he would look up the rules all around it and then stay within the rules, but make sure that he could do what he knew was in the best interest of people.
Okay. Well, before I tell you what that phone call is about.
Oh, yes.
My light's flashing on this. Is that you're running out of battery?
Maybe. Is my light flashing? No. Sorry, you got the bad mic. No, but seriously, we got to fix that.
Okay. So that was a Rochelle that called.
Mm-hmm. Gonna try the old turn it off and turn it back on thing. Nope. There we go.
What'd you do?
I just had to turn it back on, turn it back off, turn it back on, right? Next step, I was just going to drop kick it a little bit. And didn't have to.
Well, thank you for that.
Happy to help.
All right, so getting back to the Lyme disease
Sure.
topic, she wanted to know if someone developed a bullseye after a tick bite, does it necessarily mean that that person's going, like, is it going to be a Lyme disease case?
Very good question. All right, the bullseye. Bum, bum, bum. Now I'm curious, did she say that she was watching?
She is.
Cool.
I think she said this is her first time, so she's a little nervous about
Right
checking it and how that works.
All good. That's why we have the phone number on the board. That is totally why that's there.
Yeah.
Thank you for watching. Cool. So the bullseye. So I want to talk about that. And then I got a story about explaining this one time when I was on the road with a client who is a professional disc golfer. And I was traveling with him. And the people around him knew who I was in his life because he had Lyme disease and almost ended his career. And I was able to help him get back on track with all that stuff. And I gave my description of why the bullseye forms. It's what I'm about to share with you. There was a group of about 7 people listening to us. And one of the guys at the start of the conversation said, I'm really curious to hear you answer this question because my girlfriend's a nurse and I think she explained it well, but I want to hear your take on it. And it felt like it was a attempt at a gotcha moment. And at the end of my explanation, he went, "That's probably the best explanation of what's going on that I've ever heard." And I was like, "All right, bro. Same team, by the way. Okay, same team." So well, this red marker is surprisingly healthy. Cool. All right. This is the actual bite. Okay. Why do things turn red on our skin? There can be a couple of reasons for that. One can be increased circulation. The other can be irritation leading to increased circulation. So there's literally more red blood cells accumulating in the skin near this spot. One of the reasons that happens at the bite site is because when a tick or a mosquito bites us, and it's imparting the bacteria that'll lead to Lyme disease into our body, our immune system is getting notice of that, and then our blood is sending a bunch of immune cells, white blood cells, red blood cells, to the site to help address what is going on. And it's trying to isolate it. It's trying to keep it in that one spot. But this bacteria is pretty insidious, it's pretty gnarly, and it doesn't always get contained right away. And it starts to spread out. And the immune system will have all sorts of things in the area to try to contain it, but often it gets beyond that threshold or that barrier. And then a new ring develops all around the exterior of more inflammation. There's more need for blood flow to that area because there's a potential immune challenge trying to escape. So the body sends blood from every angle into the area to try to contain all that. And what often is happening is it's just finding a different way to get out. The immune system is working really hard, but doesn't always contain that infection. That's when we see that bullseye. Does a bullseye mean you got Lyme disease? No, that does not mean you got Lyme disease. What a bullseye indicates is that some type of immune challenge came into your skin and it was so aggressive and so insidious that the immune system could not contain it at its first attempt. It had to try to back off. It had to retreat a little bit and try again to contain what's going on. Again, that doesn't mean it's Lyme disease, but it does mean it was something that your immune system had difficulty dealing with. The products I listed before, all the different IS products, the Immuplex, the Spanish black radish, part of the reason I use those is a person can come in with a mosquito bite, a tick bite, a cat scratch, and I can think up and down and left and right that it's going to lead to Lyme disease. I can be 100% wrong, and those products, the IS products, the Immuplex, the Spanish black radish, are not going to hurt that client of mine. They're just going to help the immune system do what the immune system was designed to do. So when I see this, I tend to get aggressive because I know that something gnarly got the attention of your immune system. And fortunately, even if I'm totally wrong, which happens, we can use products that are only going to nourish your body, not cause side effects or symptoms or difficulty.
Wow, nice.
The body wants to confine its challenges. It wants to quarantine them. It doesn't want to see them, go systemic. But often it has trouble on its first attempt to regulate that.
Okay.
Yeah. And when I got bit by a tick, I didn't get a bullseye. I have a scar on my leg where it bit me, and I didn't pick at it or anything like that. What I know now is I thought my immune system was pretty awesome, and it was in the general definition, but it really wasn't equipped to handle all the things that would lead to Lyme disease. So it never even had a shot at containing or quarantining what was going on. And that's why I didn't develop a bullseye, I believe. Other questions that are rolling in.
Not on the social media.
Okay. I love the phone call, though. If I didn't totally answer your question, Rochelle, call us back. Let me know. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Rescue Mama loves that mug. She says, "Nice mug."
Thank you. We never called Megan today. Or we did?
Oh, did you want? Oh, we didn't call her.
I meant to
Yeah,
call her.
you
Yeah,
meant to.
not a you thing. It's a
Yeah,
me thing.
I looked for her phone number. I couldn't find it.
Yeah. It's up on our fridge. It's on our business card.
Oh, okay.
We're gonna have a half dozen of these mugs floating around here. So anytime you come in here and you ask for water, you're gonna get a 3D mug to drink it out of, not to take home. Our mugs. Other questions that are rolling in.
No, but I've got one I can.
You're always good for a question.
Well, let's do it then. This is just kind of an observation I had at a restaurant this past week.
Okay.
Let me know if you need the name of the restaurant. But what I observed was the butter that they put on my toast.
Yeah.
Was, I would say, more white than the golden yellow that you oftentimes associate butter with. And I was wondering if you could enlighten us. What's
sure. Butter color.
Yeah.
Another time I wish that yellow dry erase markers showed up on video. I'll do orange because I have seen orangish butter before. And on the topic of good fats that are colorful, I was fortunate enough to get to go to England about 10 years ago.
Is that for that wedding?
Yeah. And good memory. And the egg yolks at every place I ate eggs, which was at least 4 different restaurants. Egg yolks were the most remarkable shade of dark orange. Oh, man, it's indicative of certain nutrients. That's what we're going to talk about with butter. That's why that comes up here. So let's talk butter color. So, fresh, fast-growing grass. Hey, Lori, say that 3 times fast.
Fresh, fast-growing grass. I cannot say that.
See, that's tricky. I couldn't even
say it one time fast.
I couldn't. I already said it slowly. Fresh, fast. Nope. Okay. That's the best kind of grass for cows to eat, and the best butter on earth comes from cows that eat grass. Okay. There's a lot of scientific types of feed for cows. Cool, very fancy, but cows have survived on grass for longer than I even know, and the fresh stuff that grows in early spring, that grows the fastest, is the best stuff for them. This grass is richer in fat-soluble vitamins, and that means vitamins A, D, E, and K. When cows are eating grass that is growing fast, they get more of these nutrients inside of their body, and a lot of those nutrients are imparted in their milk that they make. The reason for this is because their younglings, their babes, are going to feed off of them, and they need those nutrients to support healthy, ideal growth. These nutrients naturally have a dark brown / orange kind of color. So when these cows are getting plenty of these nutrients, the butter that they make, or that's made out of the milk that they make, is naturally a darker color. So if you go to the grocery store in early spring, so in Wisconsin, after the snow has melted, give it a week or two, go to the butter section at your local grocer, look for the Amish hand-rolled butter. It looks like a burrito, but it's all butter. Sounds like a pretty good burrito to me. And you'll notice that it is very dark yellow compared to even a month or two later. It'll still be yellow, but not nearly as dark yellow. And that is because the nutrient levels, these nutrients are higher in that early growing grass. So Lori, I suspect one of maybe 2 things. The butter you got was from a cow that didn't just eat fresh, fast-growing grass. That is really tricky to say. Or it was just flat out fed feed instead of being raised on grass. With that being said, are you comfortable saying the name of the restaurant?
Will we get in trouble?
Well, probably not. I'm not going to bash them.
Okay. First Watch.
Oh, First Watch. Okay. I would be curious where First Watch sources their butter from.
Me too now. I almost want to bring it up to them and find out.
And just ask.
Yes.
Right? Not bashing them.
No.
Just curious. There you go. That's your butter color lecture for the night.
Well, not only that, but you've given me a great idea for our next staff retreat.
Oh.
Tongue twisters.
Tongue twisters at the staff retreat, including
fresh, fast-growing grass.
Is it easier to go fast, fresh growing grass? It's way easier to start with fast. Try it.
Fast, fresh.
Right?
Fast. Yeah, it is.
Fresh, fast growing grass. Fresh, fast growing
We're
grass.
so silly here.
Yeah, we are. It's good to have fun.
Oh, and why are the egg yolks orange from good eggs? Suzer wants to know.
Suzer, excellent question. So the darker yolk color is indicative of some of these, A, D, E, and K. It's also indicative of methyl, so good vitamin B12, because that is naturally containing a mineral called cobalt. And cobalt is just like that color in your crayon box or your easel, your paint tray. It's naturally blue.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a little bit of blue, so it's not enough to turn the yolk into a greenish kind of color, but it is enough to darken it just slightly.
Ah.
Yeah. You may know the restaurant Blue's Egg. So some chicken.
Heard of it.
Okay, it's really good food.
Yeah.
Really yummy. Certain chicken eggs naturally have a blue hue to them. If you do a composition test on what the shell and what the egg has in it, you'll actually find that it has higher levels of vitamin B12 and the mineral cobalt in the eggshells that are blue compared to white or brown. There you go.
Super cool.
Yeah, nature is pretty lit. It's pretty wild. It does all sorts of cool stuff. It's just really low key about it.
And Rochelle commented she is very pleased with your answers
cool.
about the bullseye and the tick and lime and all that stuff.
Good. Thank you for asking again.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta tell you, I'm still amazed week in and week out. The engagement that we get from all y'all online, whew, it makes it really easy every Wednesday after seeing clients for 6 or 7 hours to want to jump in and do this, because I know we're going to get more answers. We're going to help people with their health. We're going to get to share. We love that. Other questions, roll ahead. No?
No.
Cool. Well, the rules are stay here as long as there are questions. So if you had one that you were thinking about asking, now is the time to ask it. Take this time to shamelessly plug what we got going on tomorrow. Used red for bullseye. Let's go with purple.
Ooh, exciting workshop tomorrow.
It's a good
right?
workshop. Thursday, what is it, the 19th?
Yes. I think this one's going to be popular.
Thursday, June 19th. It's at noon. At 3D. That's right here. Skin health. Talking about skin health. This is a client exclusive workshop. Remember, if you aren't a client, it's really easy to become a client. You call us for a free initial consultation. Done. Now you're a client. There's no catch. There's no, what is it? Purchase necessary?
Right.
It sounds like a trick. I'm sorry that it isn't. It's not Halloween. So we're talking about skin health. We're talking about brands we trust.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about ingredients to look out for. We're going to talk about the nutrients we know your skin needs and some of the organs in our body that help our skin to perform. We're also going to talk about a lot of common skin issues. We covered sunburn and bug bites last week in our Saturday workshop, but we're going to talk about things like rashes. We're going to talk about hives. We're going to talk about acne. And we're going to talk about when these things show up on different parts of your body, how they may indicate different issues that are going on. Acne on your upper arm is very different than acne on your face. Acne on your upper back is different than acne on your thighs, etc., etc. So that's tomorrow at noon. If you're a client, it's free. Come on in, check it out. If you're a client, you also get to bring a +2. So grab 2 of your friends, have them come on down. We have chairs. They fit butts very well. So come on in and put some butts in seats.
We've got more egg questions.
Right on. Let's talk about eggs.
Well, remember Suzer asked the one about the egg yolks, orange from Good Eggs?
Yes.
She asked a follow-up question. I'm struggling with some of the wording, so maybe you can help me.
Yeah, try me.
It says, and would this help people with gallbladder misfunction to get rid of the rash?
Gotcha. So if we're eating higher quality eggs, is that going to support gallbladder function? And specifically, if somebody has a rash on their body because of gallbladder dysfunction, would these darker egg yolks help? Potentially, because the nutrients in the darker egg yolks are very nourishing to skin. I would want to make sure that the gallbladder is still able to digest the amount of fat that is inside of the egg yolk, because that's how we get the nutrient out of it. So I have to leave that at it's likely, but not a guarantee.
Okay. And then Rochelle has another question.
Yeah.
Would you happen to know why chicken eggs, after the chicken is a little bit older, why the yolk gets easily broken when frying?
Oh, okay. So that's going to have to do with the stability of the proteins inside of the egg. So if I'm remembering correctly, oh man, this is like 15 years ago now. The genetic coding, oh man, it's something to do with the proteins. The proteins degrade over time. Can't remember if it's related to the chicken's genes and their telomeres. Oh, geez. If I'm remembering correctly, the older the chicken gets, the less stable its proteins in its body are, and that gets translated into the egg. What helps hold the yolk separate from the egg white is protein dependent, and as those proteins get less stable as the chicken ages, it's easier for them to leak. Oh man.
Wow.
That was a long, yeah, that was a long time ago that I read that. I think that's right. Don't quote me on that one.
Mm-hmm.
Woo! Okay. Now I feel like I need to actually put gin in that drink. Woo! I think that's right. I think that's right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Good. Other questions that are rolling in. No? Give you all another minute or two. The skin health workshop, the first time I taught that was 12 years ago.
A lot's changed since then.
A lot has changed since then. So I was looking at the handout for it.
Yeah.
It was the third version because I've taught it multiple times and I kept updating it.
Yep.
And as I was reading through it, I was reminded of some old good ideas that I had before.
Ooh.
Then I was also like, man, it was 4 years ago was the last time I presented the skin health workshop because we stopped doing workshops during COVID.
Right.
People weren't getting together for that. We didn't have live streaming that we were doing. The stuff just in the last 4 years that we figured out about skin health, it's like,
yeah.
The workshop handout was at 3 pages. It's easily going to be at 5 just from the last 4 years of study.
Oh,
yeah, wow. And clinical experience, and it's going to be good.
Yeah.
All right, you wonderful humans. Any questions rolling?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Well, question.
Maybe.
So, well, it says from Rochelle, haha. So can it be fixed with feeding them some special nutrients, or are they just too old to lay eggs now?
All right, so I want to take care of the chickens. I'm far from a livestock expert. In humans, when the telomeres are having issues and protein stability is degrading in the body, I use astragalus. It's a wonderful herb. I don't know if you can give that to chickens. Would we feed them something different? I would want to make sure that their digestive processes are optimized. So make sure they have access to rocks. because chickens are designed to eat rocks to help them digest. Make sure they have access to bugs. And I don't know enough about raising chickens to say, could we give them something that would promote acidity in their stomach without harming them? That's what I would do in a human. If a human was having a protein-related issue, I'd want to make sure first, before we increase protein intake, that we're optimizing protein digestion. I would imagine the same thing would be applicable to a chicken. I'm just not sure how to go about that. There you go. We get the best questions.
I love how you handle them all.
I gotta stick to what I know.
Yeah.
Call it out when I don't know it.
Yeah.
It's the best thing to do. All right, you wonderful humans. Thank you for being here. We'll be back next Wednesday for another Wednesday weekly workshop. Until then, if you have questions, reach out to us. Phone number, message us here on YouTube or Instagram. Shoot us an email. We are here to help. Stay well.